Yo, what is up guys, my dearest fundamental YouTube piggies. My name is Alois, I am a little bit cringe, and I hope you guys are having an absolutely amazing day thus far. Now today we're going to be reviewing the, I believe, rank 1 top lane Chinese super server player, Xiao Shai Meng. I probably butchered his name, I don't know how to pronounce it, but I've always seen his shorts and some clips, and today I figured, why don't I just review two of his laning phases and see what concepts he used, or what fundamentals he's using to stomp his gameplay. Is he using the same concepts that I teach? What is he doing that makes him so successful? If you guys like this review slash deep dive analysis of games, I can do more in the future from either solo queue players, maybe some professional games, anything like this. If you guys like it, please consider leaving a like, comment down below, and subscribe to help me out. And my promise to you is that I'll always be striving to make my content more enjoyable, more professional when I call you guys fundamentals piggies. See you guys in the video. Get ready to learn.
Every move you made, I was watching you.
Let's deep dive into the first game review right here. We're playing Set into Skarner, and I first want to cover some theory so you guys can kind of also get an understanding of what he's going to try and do here and why it wins his game so consistently. So I always say that your first 4 waves in top lane are by far the most important, because very often as a result of how your first 4 waves went, the rest of your laning phase will be decided as well. It sounds a bit vague, but it will make a lot of sense from the examples that I'm going to showcase. Now he's playing Set with Flash Ignite and a D-Shoot, very aggressive setup, and Set is one of the strongest early game champions in the top lane. And that is because it is very hard to stat check a Set, because his passive allows him to get an extra auto attack, and there is almost no champion in the game that is able to match those stats. Only a champion like Darius can, because his passive gives him 30 extra AD when proc at level 1. So you can see here that Set is a very strong level 1 champion, and he's going to try to utilize this for multiple goals. Either he gets an amazing trade off of his opponent, that could be good, right? So a good health trade. But more importantly, and if you're able to do so, this is really big, is try to zone your opponent from the first 3 melee minions worth of EXP. And that's because melee, or EXP rather, snowballs much harder than gold in the early game. There are level up timers that you get, so your timer to level 2, 3, and 4 is always the same. For example, if you want to get your level 2 in the early game, you need the first 6 minions of wave 1 and 1 melee minion of wave 2. Or you can take the first 5 minions of wave 1, so that would be these 5 minions, and then 1 additional melee from wave 2, and that's because melee minions give more XP than casters. If you zone your opponent from any XP in the early game, you will permanently be a level ahead of them, and that makes the laning phase absolutely unplayable. Let's take a look here now with those layers of theory, how we approach this. He's waiting here, and Skarner has multiple options. The correct play from Skarner would be to actually not show himself here. Set has this posture. Skarner could try and be tricky and approach the lane from this angle, so he stays hidden. Or Skarner should stay basically hidden and walk up to the minions once they get lower XP. Probably should run bone plating so he can basically sustain the Set's early game trade opportunity, and then look to just soak the XP, or maybe use his Q to throw a rock at it when your opponent does this, right? Now, the Set walks up, and the Skarner has already walked up, which is a mistake because he cannot match the Set damage here. So he trades, he does have bone plating, and we get a massive early game trade. He went to the W, and now this is already super massive. And here, if you do a trade like this at the level 1, I can almost guarantee you that the lane very often is going to be lost from this. Because if Set plays it well right now, there are very few options for Skarner left, and everything is going to happen basically as a result of this level 1 trade. One detail that I haven't mentioned yet is you see here, once he starts hitting the Skarner, these casts actually aggro onto the Set, and they step a little bit down, as you can see right here. They take a little step down. It's very tiny detail here. The way this works, sometimes no means will aggro you and they'll just all hit each other, but the goal here for the Set is to stand in this range, because this is the center of the lane. All melees should die, all 6 melees. He gets the XP, Skarner does not get the XP, boom, you're in an amazing position. Every game is going to be different though, because here for some reason, the 2 melees here are only alive for red side, and blue side still has 3, and that is obviously because these 3 casts is targeted onto the Set, right? You'll have games where these casts will not target onto you, you'll have games where they target onto you. It's going to be different every game. But most importantly here, is that Set should try and zone Skarner from any XP in the early game right now, which is what he is going to do. And so here you see he is getting the XP, he's standing in the range, but Skarner is just outside of the XP range. So they're already getting different level up timers in the game. And again, this XP is what snowballs the hardest. Now, because these casters took a little step downwards, and this melee is still alive, you see here that these minions are actually going to be walking forward here right now. So instead of the minion meeting in a neutral position, they're actually going to meet closer to Skarner's side. So what is going to happen here As you see here, they step forward, and now Set has multiple options. He basically controls the entire laning phase. depending on the main aggro, and there's partially RNG here as well, but as you guys can see, blue side caster has just died, this one has died, and these ones are still alive. This melee is still alive as well, so technically the wave is still pushing towards the red side, but Skarner is basically never allowed to walk up for a single asset. He is still 0 CS, he will stay 0 CS, unless he goes to try and walk up and does what the Skarner does right here. He grabs his Q, hits it, AoEs the wave, and chugs it at the wave. So now what happens, and this is what a lot of opponents will do by default, is the wave is actually pushing towards the set right now. Now imagine this, from Skarner's position. He's down in EXP. That means he's going to be down in level up timers. He's down in HP, so EXP and HP, and the wave is going to be pushed away from him. If Set plays this very smart, and what I would do in his shoes right here, is actually collect this wave, or this minion rather, get level 2, and stand here. And Skarner's lane is over. He can't play, because the wave is pushing towards the set. He's level 2 to Skarner level 1, and the game is absolutely unplayable. And this is a result from the level 1 trade, right? Trading the HP, because Set is a very strong early game champion. Skarner is still pretty strong with Q as well, but he's no match for the Set. And then by Skarner hitting the wave, which is what like 90% of your opponents will do, the wave pushes towards the Set right now. So he can continue what he was doing at level 1 as well. Now, in my opinion here, the Set makes a mistake. It is not like a mistake where like, okay, it loses him the game. I would just say it gives him or he doesn't utilize the advantage that he potentially could have gotten. Because if we visualize Set just lasting this minion and then standing here, Skarner would not get level 2 from this minion because he's already behind in the XP. And then he can perpetually zone him and Skarner loses like another full wave of XP. And then every time the Skarner gets a level up, the Set is going to be a full level ahead. And you just can't play the game anymore, right? But here he W's the wave, and that does two things. He does get a level up, he gets a good health rate, but the wave is pushing towards the Skarner right now. The problem with this is that Skarner now is not forced to walk up for assets, thus he should not die here anymore. Because if he's not forced to walk up for assets, he can just wait, the wave will come into his turret, and then he can collect it. And that's also what's going to happen. So now, the Set adapts, and he's slow pushing wave number 2. Then wave number 3 arrives, he's going to slow push this as well to do a delayed 4th wave crash. And the way I always view this is whenever you're pushing the wave, the habit that you should ingrain is check your minimap. This is where our next wave is at. That is also where Skarner's next wave is at. So we slow push this to allow this next wave to walk into the lane. Once you see it's close to the lane, then you start pushing. So take a look at it right here. Now, he's pushed in the wave a little bit. You see these castles are still there. He takes another massive health chunk. And as you guys can see, every time Set is level 3, Skarner is level 2. It's unplayable for the Skarner, right? He's basically not allowed to farm. Okay, and now he's going to do a 4th wave crash. Set has multiple options. What Set could do, for example, is the faster he pushes here, the faster he can set up his own reset. But instead, he stays here, and he's going to walk towards the skirmish that is happening in River. And Lee Sin ends up dying. He doesn't get anything. So now, an interesting position again. Question to the bros. What is happening with this wave currently? It's pretty much stuck here at Skarner's turret, but there's something that's very important to note here. You all probably know that this wave is pushing back towards the Set, right? It is pushing back towards the Set, and that is because this minion walked into the turret, so by default there is already like a differences in the minions. There's 5 minions from blue side, 6 minions from red side, but this wave is actually hard pushing towards the Set, and that is because this next wave, right, is going to arrive faster for red side than it is for blue side. And what this will lead to is, let's say these minions trade, right? So let's just take a look at what happens. So now Set thins out a little bit, but what you can see right here is he's still thinning out, but now Skarner has matched the level up. What's happening on the next wave is you see there's 3 casters that are still remaining. So Skarner right now has 9 minions on the next wave, and Set only has 6 minions. And that of course means that the wave is hard pushing towards the Set. So now, in Skarner's shoes, it's kind of tricky to play this scenario. I would probably base TP back because the Set does not have TP. That would be one way to play out the position here for Skarner, simply because if he bases and TPs back, he's full HP, full mana, and he has items to try and get the crash in towards the Set. Set does not have TP, so he cannot match that. If Skarner were to base and TP right now, Set should match it, and then we still have a positional advantage. The wave's coming into us for the Set, so he's always winning here, right? Because Skarner is still on the losing position, simply because of the level 1, of how that played out. Usually Skarner here should be healthy enough to play at the bounce, but he's also down in XP, down in mana, and down in HP, so now it's pretty hard for Skarner to play at the bounce as a result of the earlier trades. Now, Set is looking for trades. Now, what do you reckon is most important for the Set right here? What should his mindset be like? That is, as long as this wave is pushing towards him, so red side having more minions, Skarner is going to be forced to walk up for last hits, and that is when your opponent is going to be most vulnerable. So the mindset he should have is be very cautious with how he uses his AoE abilities, because if he uses his W on the full wave, it's just going to push back towards the Skarner, right? So you see here, he's going to approach the Skarner here with a trait, but he should be very conscious with how he uses his abilities. So his E doesn't do that much damage, but you see here, his W is only hit on 2 casters. So that means the wave is still pushing towards the set, and he gets a massive trait. I am very certain he did this consciously, avoiding using his W on the full wave, because else the wave bounces back towards the Skarner, and the Skarner would be basically free, because the wave will push back into him again. Now, as you guys can see, this wave is still clearly pushing towards the set, right? And as a direct result, Skarner is forced to walk up for last hits. Now, the beautiful part about this as well is, because he has such a massive health advantage and EXP advantage, you see here again, set is level 5, Skarner is level 4, that is all from the level 1 trait. And so this is what I mean with your first 4 waves are the most important. Skarner is still not allowed to play because of that level 1 mistake. And now as a result of this, he's level 5 to level 4. Skarner should base TP back. He did not have the discipline to do so. He walks up, and he tries to escape. Set kills him. The wave is still pushing towards the set, but he decides to hard push it. Gets a reset in. Now the video gets cut off after this push the wave, but it basically crashes into the turret, and it will bounce back. Now you see, we're back in the laning phase here. Skarner, we can't see because of my fat face in the way, but Skarner has a tier refillable with 20 CS. Set has 37 CS. Pickaxe longsword. The laning phase is pretty much over. And so here, it's just a beautiful example of showcasing how these Chinese top laners are also just utilizing those core fundamentals that I'm always yapping about, right? I find it interesting to also just review this game to showcase the examples, but I would also argue that Set could have optimized the way he approached his level 1 trade scenario, right? So if we go back here, I think his level 1 trade was absolutely amazing. So the way he played this out, and the way he's zoning the Skarner, all theory, exactly what he should be doing. Now, because of how the level 1 went, Skarner lost 2 melees worth of XP, not a third, so he actually gets a third here, but he's still 2 melees down worth of XP, which is absolutely massive. So that already also means that Skarner could basically never get level 4 from the first 4 means. But now, as a result, you also see that after Skarner does this, and again, a lot of your opponents, especially if they have a ranged ability, will do this. Like, the game is pretty much over for Skarner if Set just takes 1 minion and stands here. So I think he could have optimized it here. So instead of getting the bounce at level 4, he could have already done it here because the wave would push into him. Skarner's forced to walk up, game over. But he's still got a similar scenario just because of the early game wave states. Now, the way Skarner could have avoided this, because a lot of people will also ask me this, right? So what do you even do as Skarner then if your opponent knows how to utilize his strength as a level 1 champion, and then also knows how do you play if your opponent is a level 1 strong champion and knows how to utilize it? So he's going to try and zone you from XP. Well, as I explained, you gotta be more creative, right? There's a lot of ways to do it. Quick shout out, I will explain everything in the courses too, but Skarner could approach from here. Skarner could try and like hide in these bushes, but Set was already in the bushes, so that was harder. And then you should run bone plating and basically walk to the wave once they're low HP, so he can trade a little bit of HP, but still get the EXP. You always want to try and get the XP in the early game, because as you clearly saw right here, if you miss out on the XP, it will snowball immensely hard. Other than that, it was just an amazing utilization of the 4th wave crash, then getting the bounce in, avoiding using his AoE in the wave. Skarner was forced to walk up for last hits, and then at this position in the lane, after we get the solo kill, I would also already say that the lane is over here, right? Set is going to perpetually be ahead in XP, in gold, and the only way Skarner gets back is by Set making a mistake. So that's also why I don't like teaching how to play from behind, because at this point in the game, Skarner is screwed, and that is because your first 4 waves are the most important. Alright guys, that was the first example. Let's dive into one more. Going to the second example, we're playing Set against a Mordekaiser, and Mordekaiser is an okay level 1 champion because of his passive allowing him to set check a bit better, but again, he is no match for a Set that is playing D-Blade Flash Ignite, and so you see here that the Set is posturing extremely aggressive, trying to see what the Mordekaiser is doing. Mordekaiser could be walking in late. Well, it's very tricky. He's probably going to trade bone plating to at least score the XP. Mordekaiser could try and approach from here, or the Mordekaiser could be here, so he's checking to see where the Mordekaiser is at, how he wants to approach it. But you see here, he has the ingrained habit to really utilize his strength at level 1. That's the most important. And he will find the Mordekaiser piggy, and he starts trading. He selects W again, which kind of surprises me. I thought maybe you could go E here, but I mean, it makes sense. He blocks his damage and also gets extra damage. And you see here, he's doing the same thing, trying to zone the Mordekaiser from XP. However, in this example, we see the exact same thing as last game, is that the casters are going to start focusing the Set here. So these means are like a mess right now. It's not going in the center, it's not going completely equal. But other than that, the trade is still really good, and he's trying to zone the Mordekaiser from any XP. Now, in this example, you see here that, unfortunately, all 3 melees from the set are still alive, so Mordekaiser won't lose any HP because of the mean aggro and the way it works. But again, it's going to be different every game. Sometimes these minions will all die, and sometimes they won't. One advice that I can quickly give you, what you can sometimes do as well is wait for the means, so these means, to get a little bit lower HP before you start aggroing your opponent, making it more guaranteed that your opponent is going to lose the means. Because if the means are already super low HP and then you start hitting your opponent, it doesn't really matter, because by the time your opponent is running away, the means will die and he loses the XP, right? So here he starts hitting whilst the means are still like half HP, and then the main aggro just goes everywhere. It's kind of RNG, but the trade is still amazing. And we have a similar scenario now where we have the priority. We get a massive trade in the early game and see if we can utilize our level up timers. And so he's going to try and punish this Mordekaiser, still zone him from a little bit. I think he zones him from the melee main right there, so he zones it from 1 melee, and he's juggling, standing into the range himself as well. Now here is a beautiful example of utilizing level up timers. If you know your level up timers out of the top of your head, you're going to be able to try and consciously match your movement with the level up timer, and then if you also sync your cooldowns with the level up, it's going to be amazing. So you see here, this is the level up that would give Set level 2. Mordekaiser wants to set in range for this mean as well, so he walks forward to try and get the XP. Set walks into his face, gets the level up, auto ease, his W is on cooldown as well, and gets a massive trade, wins the lane right there and then. So Mordekaiser has to base TP from 2 things: looking for the aggressive level trade, using your level up timer. That's how simple it can be, right? I understand that this will require some practice, but if you're able to at least know your level up timers in the early game, understand the concept of zoning your opponent from EXP from the level ups is really important, and then syncing your cooldowns with those level ups, I'm quickly gonna cite some level up timers for you. So your level 2 is again first 6 minions plus 1 melee level 2, or from wave 2 rather, or you get the first 5 minions and 1 melee from wave 2. So 6 minions can also grant you level 2. Level 3 is the first 2 waves plus 2 melees on wave number 3. And level 4 is going to be the first 3 waves, 3 melee minions and 1 caster. You're like, Alois, exactly. Because it's the same every game. You should know it too. It's so important to know these level up timers. And if you're able to sync your cooldowns with those level ups, your gameplay is going to instantly be a lot easier to play. So now the set is slow pushing, and it crashed into the turret by the looks of it as a 4th wave crash, because he is level 4 here, right? You see here that there's still 2 casters remaining, so it's the first 3 waves, 3 melees, and 1 caster that got him his level 4. Now Set, or the Mordekaiser, probably base TP back, but you see here that this Mordekaiser is still in trouble, because now the wave will start bouncing back towards the Mordekaiser. He's down in XP. Set gets a massive trade here again, and here I again would argue that this Mordekaiser's lane is over, because what's happening with the wave right now? So I wouldn't push this from the Set's position. I actually would hold these minions here, drag the aggro towards the bush. Mordekaiser has no health, he has no TP. The minion wave is going to bounce back towards the Set. Why is that good? Because it's going to force the Mordekaiser to walk up for last hits. GG. So if I'm in Set's shoes right here, I would just get the aggro of the minions here, then hold it a little bit, drop the aggro. The minion wave, instead of meeting in the center, will meet around here. It's going to bounce back into the Set. Game over. Okay, well, let's see what he does instead. He's going to push the wave, potentially to set up a dive. I'm not sure why he's hitting. Okay, no, okay, he stopped. Okay. I think he could have optimized this again, though, by not hitting this minion, first of all, holding it a little bit, and then dropping the aggro like here. So now it meets a little bit closer here. It's not a bad thing, because it also forces Mordekaiser further away from his turret, but I would have instigated the bounce differently. And he walks up to the Mordekaiser right here that wants to go for last hits, get punished. Uses E and W, and now, so I actually think it's good to use Flash Ignite here to get the kill, but Mordekaiser might react in time. However, he's not necessarily forced to use Flash Ignite here, because Mordekaiser is already guaranteed to lose the game right here, especially if we cancel his recall one more time. I would probably Flash Ignite here, but looks like he has the patience to not do so. And now, what he's going to try and do is hard push this wave and cancel the Mordekaiser's recall, and then what's going to happen is Mordekaiser misses out on this wave, misses out on the next wave, and then it's GG as well. So let's see what he does. He's looking for the Mordekaiser. He probably walked away all the way to his tier 2. Ooh, that's a very smart recall by the Mordekaiser, actually. Wait, I can even use that. That is such a smart recall position, because your opponent can't see you. But the same thing happens now. As a result of the first 4 waves, the game is over, because what's happening with the top wave here? It's hard pushing back towards the Set, right? So Set has ahead in XP, ahead in gold. The wave is pushing back into him, so he's going to be in an amazing position, and now the game is just extremely hard to play for the Mordekaiser. So once we get back into lane, we're super far ahead in CS. Again, you can't see it, but the Mordekaiser is only sitting... Oh, that's the wrong one. Mordekaiser is only on 21 CS, so yeah, hard to play. And we're still ahead in XP as well. The Mordekaiser is level 5. We're almost level 7. That's still a result of the early game as well. As a result, we should probably get a solo kill sometime soon. Because, like, at this point, just to emphasize on it again, only way that this Mordekaiser gets back into the game is more so by either getting a gank and the set making a mistake. If that doesn't happen, he's just perpetually down in XP and gold. And that is why your early game, again, is so important. So here, looks like he just crashes it. Not entirely sure what's going to happen, but he probably looks to set up a solo kill, and he gets it right here. How do we get it? The wave is bounced back into us. Mordekaiser is not fully forced to walk up for last hits, goes for one melee, and he misses his E and gets one shot. And now, same thing happens. As long as the set does not make a mistake, he's going to be perpetually ahead, and the game is pretty much unplayable for the Mordekaiser as a result of the first 4 waves. So, this is going to be the second review. I think it's very interesting to watch this guy's gameplay and just kind of compare my theory or my type of gameplay with his. Now, I'm not really a set player, but he is able to, of course, utilize and know his kill and trade windows extremely well. I would not be able to replicate that. But the theory of trying to zone your opponent from the first main's worth of XP, utilizing level up timers, and then pretty much securing your game in the first 4 waves is absolutely amazing and very consistent to do as well. Now, of course, this matters on the matchup that you're playing, the champion that you're maining, but there's a lot of champions in top lane that are able to replicate this. For example, the champions that are really strong in the early game are like Olaf, Trundle, Warwick, Seth, Darius, Riven, Fiora. You have so many early game Urgot, right? So many good champions, and what you can learn if you play a more weaker champion is how to basically avoid this, right? That's why the theory of knowing your level up timers is good when you're playing a weak top lane champion or a strong one. So let's say we are playing Yorick or a Gangplank into a set, then what we should know is actually, instead of, you know, just playing our wave normally at level 1, we should be very cautious and already have the mindset that we're going to be playing trade avoidant to avoid losing our HP at level 1 and still getting the XP, but also making sure that we're healthy enough to play out the eventual bounce that happens when we get pushed in the early game, right? For example, the Skarner in the first game example was not healthy enough to play out the bounce because he took too many trades in the early game. So the concept applies, or the logic that we see here applies to whenever you're playing a strong champion or a weak early game champion. I think it's amazing to see this guy play. I'm not entirely sure like how high elo he's playing in these VOD examples, but his opponent seemed very competent. So yeah, there's that. If you guys enjoy this review type of content, let me know down in the comments if there's any suggestions of players that I should take a look at. I'd be very open to that too. And other than that, I wish you guys an absolutely amazing remainder of your day. Thank you for coming by, and I'll see you guys in the next one.